This is Irontrader, and this is Midday Trading. So I'm going to take a look at some stocks here. Take a look first at Adobe, ADBE, CRM, PayPal, Shopify, SHOP, and then we'll take a look here at American Eagle, AEO. Okay, this video is for information purposes only, not a recommendation to buy or selling stock market ETF. Please like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Here we have Adobe. Okay, now this used to be a really hot stock, and now she's coming off here nicely. Now you can see here we're a downtrending situation, and we just gapped right on down. Not good. That was on the earnings. The other earnings came here, gapped right on down, and the last earnings here, it gapped right on down again. So, this here, she's just not in play. Now, the key is we went and made this low here today. Look what we came all the way down to 331.50, and we held that 330. So right now we have a double bottom situation. Okay. Now, again, if we start losing that 330.40 level, okay, which is basically right there, 330.04, then what we do is we come right down to your next level kind of a situation. Okay, what we're looking for is right down to the bottom of this candle. You're looking at 318.16 level. We can come down to the bottom of this candle here. You're looking at 287.57. Then we have your big retest down there at 274.73. Okay, but again, right now we are holding it and not looking really that bad. Kind of a double bottom situation. Now on the upside, we got a hole we want to go is 342.35. But really the key that we're looking for is going to be this 21-day at 350.48. And then we got to see what the reaction is going to be. Now, if we just look to the past, okay, this is what the reaction was. Went right into it, and then she just came right on off. So again, are we going to get the same scenario, or is it going to break through? Now, if it breaks through that 21-day, then we're going to come right here to that 8-day at 352.71, and then we'll be looking for that 361.81 level. That's going to be your 50-day, and then we have a retest there at that 364.65. Now, if you keep trading on moving, you got 375 level. And all we do is just bring these price channels right across. And those are going to be all upside targets until you get to that 200 SMA. But right now, we got to see old sticky here. Let's see if it can hold that 330.04 by the end of the day. Now, this here got to an oversold condition, rose up here, but now you're sitting at 39. That's not overbought or oversold. The green now wants to cross over your red because we obviously would have a momentum there to the downside. But let's just see if you can hold that 330.04 level. Now, when you look at the weekly chart here, you can see here high, lower high, lower high. You have a downtrending situation going on here. Now look at where the stock used to be at, almost 700, and now you're down here to this 342 level. Okay, so she was pretty much, the old cut in half ski, as they say. Okay, so but again, just watch that 330.04. That's going to be key on the closing basis. If not, you could retest all the way down here at that 274 level. Okay, let's take a look here at CRM. Here we have Salesforce. Now, Salesforce was a very hot stock at one time. You had all the way to 369. Now you're down at 241 level. Okay, and you can see here the downtrending action. What we did is we put a double top. Okay, so you had that 369, and then we retested that bad boy with 367.09. You can see that nice double top. That's where you always want to pay attention to the charts. And then look what happened. She just came right on off. Okay, so really not looking too good. And now we have a downtrending situation. We have a high, lower high, lower high, lower high. I just think there's better stuff out there. Now, this was a really hot stock at one time, but let's just see how it all situation. Now, again, if you look at the bottom here, we had this bottom at that 230 flat. We retested that 226. So we do have a double bottom scenario here, just like we had this double top. Now she's trying to rise on up, but again, you can see here, this was the earnings, and it fell right on down. Okay, so what we're watching on the downside is you want to watch that 234.62. That's today's low. We'll come to the bottom there at 232.87, and then we come at 229.61, and then we have that retest down there at 226.48. Now, again, if we start losing that 226.48 level, well, then we can come all the way to the bottom there. Look at this. See? That's why you had the weekly right there. It's 212 level. Then we just follow these price channels all down 193.68 until you venture all the way down to 126. But that's only if you're going to lose that 226, 48 level. Okay, that's the only thing. Now, on the upside, well, we got to watch that 21-day. Always got to watch that 21-day at that 244.86. But now what we did is we put this gap. Let me show you this. Okay, so if you look at today's high, we had 242.26 there so far. There's your gap. And then we want to look to yesterday's low at 250.55. Okay, your gap and your fill. Okay, then we have this 21 days in the middle of that, and we have that 8-day at 250.46. Then we have your 50-day. Then we have your 100 SMA. before we can start going on up. Okay, so you have a lot of resistance on the upside. But again, we do have this double bottom situation going on here for it. But you also have this declining. So we got to see which one is going to win. Right now, today is the earnings one, and it was not really that good. Okay, we got to an a sold condition. It rallied up, and now we're just coming off a little bit. And your green is still over your red, so it does show momentum. And again, when you look at this candle, it's a green candle with a bottoming tail. And remember, always one day does not make a market. Okay, just because you have earnings that just weren't up to snuff, that doesn't mean that it's not going to go up to snuff here in about a day or two. Okay, just simple as that. Just remember, like Google. Google had really good numbers. It rallied up really nice, high, and then it sold right on off. And now, Google's back at play again. Okay, so always just remember that, one day does not make a market. So when we look at this weekly, you can see that nice double top just as clear as a bell, came right on down, and then we have that 21 day. See, the simple moving averages, we have your 8-day, okay, your 21-day, your 50-day, okay, your 100-day, and your 200-day. They work on any chart. It doesn't make no difference what chart it is. If it's a tick chart, 1 5-minute, hourly, 4 hour, if it's a daily, weekly, monthly, they all work. See how that 21-day, look how strong that is there, okay? See, it just can't get through. So if it does rally up, you got to see what's going to happen on that weekly if it can possibly get through that situation, okay? But right now, what you're doing is just watching this daily. You're watching that 21-day. If you get above that, then we got a good shot at maybe at that 8-day. On the downside, just watch this 226.48. That's going to be key. All right, let's take a look here now at PayPal. Here we have PayPal. Now, PayPal was a really, really good runner, as obviously you can see. Okay, now look here. We had a all the way high of a 310, and now we're sitting here down at $67. Okay, so always remember, a lot of these times doing these stocks, okay, here's the earnings pair. See where it is? And it gapped right on down. All right, and then, okay, now we had this earnings. This one here rallied up here, and again, on another downside on the earnings situation. Okay, so just because a stock was hot at one time, that doesn't mean it's always going to be, always going to be in play. That's why we want to just trade the charts, and then we just find something else that's a little bit better. Okay, no issue. All right, so on the downside, you can see where it came all the way down. Today made a 66.23, and we closed by. We went below this 66.57 level, but so far we are holding this sideways action. All right. So what we're looking for on the upside is basically this 21-day at 69.04. We're looking at that 8-day 69.53, and then we're looking at that 170.45 level. We have a retest there of 73, which is basically just the top of that candle, and then we're looking for 71.75 and then 75.09. However, if you can get above all this, we have a gap right here, okay? So you look at the top of that candle, 73.28, okay? So that would be your resistance. If you can get above all that 21-day, 8-day, 100-day, and 50-day, then we look to the gap. Now, once it starts working itself into the gap, it'll go to that 200-day at 75.05, and then we'll do the gap fill at 77.93, okay? But you have so much resistance above this. Now, this is just like a sideways action here now, and that's going to be very, very key. So what we want to watch, obviously, is first of all the bottom of this candle right there. Okay, so this is what you're looking at, 67.57, and then today's low at 66.23. We start losing that, we just bring that price channel right across 63.54 level. Okay, then we just bring this price channel across. You're looking at 59.46, and then we have your retest down there at 55.85 level. Okay, this is why you use these blue lines are just price channels, and it makes it real easy because as these like say the candles are coming down, it'll leave the price channels, but it also leaves the resistant levels on the other side. Okay, so say this rose right on above. We have the gap in the fill, but you always want to look to the left of the chart, okay, because these are also going to be upside targets. Okay, very, very simple. Nice. Okay, now RSI, you're sitting at 41. That's not overbought or oversold. The green is still over your red. But this right now is nothing to write home about, nothing that I would jump into. Now you can see here where we made that high and then we just have just sideways action. Now a lot of times you get the sideways action that can build energy. But again, you also have this also has to prove itself. And right now this hasn't proven dick. Okay, that's the key. Now you're below all these simple moving averages. You got your 100 SMA here, your 21-day, your 8-day, your 50-day, and then we have your 208. Everything is downtrending situation. So right now, this is just a sideways action. For me, I would wait until you can get above these simple moving averages. Then we could take that bad boy higher and possibly even look up to that gap all the way up there at that 77.38 and maybe even that fill at that 88.54 level. But right now, this is nothing what you want to get yourself into. Okay, let's take a look here now at Shopify. All right, here we have Shopify. Now, again, look at the earnings here that we had. All right, so here's a previous earning. Okay, right, jumped right on up here. This is the last earnings it had. Nice big jump up. Okay, very, very nice. And then she's just come right on down. Now, remember, when you always have these jump ups, you have those gaps. You know that I never like that because eventually they get filled, kind of a situation. But then you have to line up everything. Okay, so when you have this way up here, this is like an overbought condition. Then we come up here, that's an overbought condition. So there's really no reason where that's going to, go all the way on up here. A lot of times it wants to come right down a little bit. It didn't retest this as of yet. Okay, that failed. Okay, so right now what you want to watch on the downside is, first of all, you want to watch that 8-day at 140.72. Come down to the bottom of there at 137.28, and then we want to come to the bottom of this candle at 133.40. There's your gap. And then we have this fill right over here at 127.23. And obviously the 50 days in the center of that. But always watch some gaps in the fills. A lot of times they'll do get filled. Not instantly, but eventually they will. All right. So here what we got. Upside, well, we're looking here at that 21-day. Okay, 143.45. And we get above that, then we're going to come right at the top of that candle, 144.20. Then we just venture right on up. You got 145.22. We have 148.50, 151.65. 153.32, and then nice big retest at 156.85 level. So we're going to see what it can get up above there. But again, if it just can't hold that 8-day, always watch this here. This is the bottom of the gap now because we're coming right by the end of the gap. And then there's your fill, and then there's your 50 SMA. Now, right here, we're sitting at 57. That's not overbought or oversold. The green is still below your red because we're a downtrending situation. So now you just got like a ping pong action here between your 8-day and your 21-day. So we got to see how that's going to shake out. But right now we have this really sideways action, resistant levels. So realistically, you want to get really above this 144.22. Then we can start marching right on up. So we look at on a weekly chart. Now you can see here how we had this high of that 176 level, came right on down. But then this was a really nice chart. See how we have a low, higher low, higher low, higher low situation. Bottom left, up, right. That was looking at it very, very nicely. So again, this one here is still very, very much in play, and this one here could be enough where you could take a shot at. Now, for me, I would wait until we get either above that 21-day and above the top of that 144.20. Then I would take the trade. Okay, so I missed a little bit. Big deal. Then we could take it back up and maybe retest that 156.85 level. Now, when we look at this chart here, the key is this 8-day. Now, let's see how it works. This 8-day, look how nice that's holding all the way. Okay, even like this week here so far, came all the way down, but we're holding that 8-day on a closing basis. And that's going to be very critical. 135.86 by Friday. Then we're at the top of this candle, 129.39. Then we'll come to the top of this candle at 120.72. And then we start running into your 116, your 21-day, your 50-day, and then we can venture all the way on down. But right now, you're holding that 8-day. See how nice that works? This chart should work on anything, okay? These simple moving averages, no matter what chart you have, it all works out nice. Now, what we had here is we have negative divergence. See how we have this high right there, okay? Then we have negative divergence going right on there, and then what happened? It sold right on down. Now we got a negative divergence from here to there, and, okay, see we have a high, higher high, lower high. So got to be a little bit careful here, but just watch that 8-day. That's going to be very, very critical situation. Okay, the last one we got here is American Eagle, AEO. Here we have American Eagle. Now, this company's been around for a long time. However, what really is kicking it for them is Sydney Sweeney. Okay, I mean, she's like the hottest thing since sliced bread. She's going right now. But just always remember, everything fades. Okay, so everything fades over time. Right now, she's the hottest thing going. Tomorrow, there will be a new girl. And then after the next day, there'll be a new girl. So right now, she's hot. She's in play. She's doing the gene ads, and this is really kicking up the stock up. Okay, so now we have this big gap. You know how I hate this. Okay, so we look at the top of this candle. We have an indecision candle. So the top of this is 1721 level. Okay, so what you're looking for next, see how we gap down, is the bottom of this candle. Okay, so you're looking at 2055. That is your gap fill. Okay, that's your gap fill. And then we can come up there to, your bottom of the candle, I'm sorry about that, is 1977. And then you have your retest at 2055 level. But here on the downside, let's just take a look at that downside. Okay, so you have this big 21 is your gap. And then we have all the way up here is your 1391 is your fill. Gap and fill. Anytime you see charts like this, that's really never what you call a good, because eventually this little hanging man up here will come all the way back into the fold. Okay, that's just how that works. Now, we had a nice double bottom here, 927 on the bottom right there. What do we have? That is right there, 945. Okay, so we had a nice, good double bottom. Then we had a nice series of higher highs, higher lows, and then boom, off she goes. Now, we look here on the weekly chart. Okay, so what we got? You got that big green here for the day. Now, what we got to make sure that it does hold if you're trading this is it needs to hold at least that 100-day at 1774. If it doesn't, you got the 1654, and then we have 1431, and then you're going to come right back into the fold here again at that 1364 level. Okay, so now if it keeps right on rising up, well, we got a lot of good resistance levels. Okay, so we come right over the top of this candle. This is what you're going to be looking for. Okay, is going to be that 2055 level. See right there. Okay, but we have that gap first. Okay, so you want to fill that gap, and then we have that 2055 level right there. Yeah? Then what we do is it keeps right on running. We can come all the way to the top of this candle here. You got 2283 level. We just bring this candle or that price channel across 2426. We come up there, which you have 2515, and then we have a big retest up there all the way at that 2644 level. So this could run up very nice, but you can see here how that 8-day held it all the way down, but all you need is some hot chick, and look at this. Woo! Up she goes. Okay, now this here just ran right up. You're getting right to an overbought condition, almost like instant. Okay, so just remember that, how this is. And remember, nothing ever lasts kind of situation. Now, we had a high of 38.99. This isn't really what you call a stock for me. This is like one of these meme stocks. You know, it's like GameStop. Okay, this idiot gets out of his chair, and all of a sudden now, you know what I'm saying, he picks out a chair, and all of a sudden people are jumping into GameStop. They're trying to make this quick money. That's not what trading is about. Trading is about consistent money. You make money on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. By the time you get to Friday, okay, you got a pile of cash. But you do that every week. You don't look for just, oh, this is gap up here, I made some money. Yeah, and then tomorrow you're going to lose all of this, okay? So just always remember that. Consistent money is how you trade. I've been doing this for 2.5 decades plus, okay? So I say I've been trading a long time. Never, ever, ever just go for these meme plays like that. Yes, once in a while, yeah, you can make good money on it. You can take a risk, you can take that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is consistent money is the key to trading. All right, that's what I got for you, and I'll be back here after you go pick close. We'll take a look at a Bitcoin. We'll take a look at that Ethereum, ETHUE, which is the ETF, 2 times leverage. We'll take a look at gold, silver, crude oil, natural gas, and we'll take a look at the old indexes here, which are looking pretty green right now. All right, trade what's in front of you, not what you want.